Hey, what is going on, guys? It's Roscoe here with a Battlefield 3 Caspian border gameplay for you. This particular video will be just hopefully give you some help and some tips on where to position yourself when trying to take over the 5 bases on this very large map. So let's go ahead and get stuck into it. Okay, so coming up to the gas station just on the back side, you'll notice you do get a tick just here, so you can actually take over the base from this position. It's probably the furthest point away from the action you can kind of do it out of trouble. Now these buildings here are an absolute hotspot aphrodisiac for tanks and enemies, so avoid them. They don't tick anyway, so there's no point. But the hedges here, these are the best bet. You're prone down in the hedges, you've got cover, the cars are there, you can kind of stay out of sight and you can still see, you know, a good amount of the area. So I think that this is probably the most successful location I've had at the gas station with being able to take them over without being seen. Even this tank here, he has no idea where I am, and I think he just gives up trying to find me and just drives away. So definitely a good spot and one to try out. Areas to avoid, this little building with the boxes, it's kind of tempting to duck down here, but you'll find there's a lot of enemy just going to come straight for you at this point. In fact, anywhere around the burning gas pumps and stuff is kind of a hotspot in the literal sense to avoid. Also, this back building here is a good location, but again, a high traffic area, so you'll want to kind of avoid that at all costs. Here's a bit of a tip when you're coming from the alternate direction. If you come around just around the left hand side here, you notice there's steps that lead up to just this little sort of rooftop here. It's a great little location just to quickly, just to suss out what's going on. As you can see, there's a tank there, so I kind of didn't want to just suicide run into the base and try to take it over without exactly knowing what is there. So it is a good little viewpoint just to make sure that the coast is clear. Coming up to the hilltop, you want to always check your corners and make sure that any enemy that are lingering around have been cleared. But this little spot here has probably been the most successful I've experienced. You've got a nice tree for cover, you've got good sight lines over the exits and entries as well as the entire base. So alternatively, you can come across to the little power grid section. Just avoid the concrete area because that is a lot easier to see than if you're hiding in the grass. Places to avoid. Now, there is a high tendency to want to prone in dark locations, but let me tell you, this is going to be the first place the enemies are going to check, and if they spot you, you've only got one way out and they're going to be waiting for you. Now, dumpsters are a great one to hide in because they're kind of one of those locations people don't expect you to see, but as soon as this catches on, this place is definitely not going to be a desirable area and going to be beautiful for grenade lobbers of all kinds. Coming up to the forest base, now this one is a little bit tricky. There's no real fantastic area to take over from. It's very exposed, very open area, so best bet, just find a nice sort of area just around the flag, so at least you've got good cover and you can kind of see what's happening. Probably the most successful location I've found for this one is just towards the back here. Downside is you can't see everything when you're proning, but at the same token, no one can really see you, I guess, as easily there, and you can always stand up, if you need to have a quick squeeze. But as you can see here, this is me trying to take over a base when there's an enemy. I only just spotted him as he was fleeing the scene. He was in that location that I found is quite invisible for people to see, and I couldn't even see him. But there's also this back area here, which is not too bad, but I do envisage it being a pretty hot spot for people when the game sort of comes out and everyone gets used to it. But you've got your back to the rocks and you can at least see what's happening. And obviously just avoid the middle section of this flag in the open areas and just stay in cover. The checkpoint is probably the most integral base to take over as part of the Caspian border. Now, you notice it does tick on the outskirts, just in the grassed area where the fence is, but that is a kind of highly trafficked area. So is this building, to be honest, but I mean, if you get into a corner here, you might be safe enough just to kind of take a quick capture. But I found the best location to kind of stay out of the way, as well as being aware of what's happening around you, are these little toll booth little buildings here. Now they're glass, so you can obviously get a 360 view of what's happening around you when you stand up, but you've got the duck away cover, and it's just on the outskirts of the main sort of policed area. Alternatively, this little spot just in front of the building, if you sort of prone down here, you've got a car sort of as cover, and you kind of, you know, you get a little bit camouflaged in sort of those bricks and stuff there, so that's not a bad location either. Areas to avoid at the checkpoint. Now, these are basically going to be the highly policed areas. This shed is great cover, however, everyone is likely to check there as one of the first locations. Same with the main building. As I said before, you can prone in a corner and hope to get away with it, but avoid these sort of highly populated areas. Now the rooftop is good for avoiding inventory fire, but you will find your eye candy for any helicopters or jets that are flying past, so you've got to be sort of careful of that. A little tip when you're approaching the checkpoint, this little tower just here just gives you a little bit of a platform to see what's happening. You won't be able to see inventory and that type of thing, but you will be able to see any large vehicles that might be waiting for you. If you travel at the backside of the antenna, that's probably the safest way of approaching it. At the back end here, unfortunately, it's just out of the takeover zone for the base, but if you sort of scatter around a bit, you can find a few little locations that do work. However, I found the most successful spot is just on this rock face just up here. It just gives you good range, a good cover, so you can see what's coming in the distance, as well as being able to sort of just be a bit more aware of what's happening around you. It's also really hard for enemies to actually see where you are there, and it's kind of out of the action, so people will be looking for you in different areas, that's for sure. These little back places just on the back side here are kind of cool, but at the same time you've got to be really careful of these. Although they're out of the way, they will be heavily policed once people discover them. Approaching it from this side, you want to make sure you always check the antenna, make sure there's no snipers up there, but approaching it here, you can't unfortunately take the base over from any of these back areas near the rocks here. This little derelict building here is okay, but you know, it doesn't provide you much cover. The antenna itself, this is going to be one of those areas that you just go straight for as soon as you try and get to this base, so avoid that at all costs. And again, another dark area for someone to prone in is also going to be a high volume spotting area, so probably avoid that as you don't want to be discovered too easily. Well, that's pretty much it, guys. So if you enjoyed this, found it helpful, please hit the like button. I do plan on doing the other maps in Battlefield 3 upon release come October, so if you'd like to check any of those out or any of my other videos, stop by my channel, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the future. Take care.